Okay, we are all set and live. Now, this is effectively 30 minutes after London session here, uh, at least in the FX trading sessions. And we're still a ways away from New York Open when the stock market opens. I'm not going to be awake or covering when the stock market opens, but I'm doing this video now because earlier today I did that very long hour 40-minute macro plan, and I realized, you know what, I want to do an actual dedicated daily plan, right? I did some stuff in there, but it was expectations for the entire month. That's a very good video to watch, but I'm going to go ahead and make a highlight video out of that. At least I'm going to go ahead, and when I have some time, I'm going to take my best shot at making a highlight video out of it. I'm already like collecting timestamps and stuff. And I got a better than expected reaction out of that video. Thank you guys for watching these videos for real. I mean, I've been getting fantastic reactions just to these first two videos. I'm very, very grateful. And also, I'm not really expecting anybody to be watching this live, right? This is kind of a weird hour to be going live at right now. And I'm not going to be notifying anyone about this because most of the people who watch the show are in the US. I'm just going to do the at everyone sometime in the morning when this video comes out. Or you'll see it in your inbox if you actually have notifications on. You'll get notified of this anyway. Yeah, so to go over and follow up on the trade ideas I did in that macro plan highlight and in the very first daily plan stream. And this is going to be recurring. I just needed to start these streams, so I actually have something to follow up on. But going forward, every stream on the daily plans, I should be following up on what I did yesterday. Simple as that. And it looks like I did pretty good, at least on dollar. My expectation was we get above this line, and we close the day just barely above that line. And looking at today, and looking at how prices moved today, my expectation is we end above this line, above this price. So this is kind of similar, I think, from the odds of last time. It was 60-40 odds I was playing around with. One sec. Just wanted to fix the line there. Also, let me know how the microphone sounds. I modified the microphone sound settings, so hopefully I sound clearer. Hopefully I'm not so loud. I had a couple of people saying, oh my god, I had to turn you so down, so down, so down. Hopefully this is more a normal range. And also from time to time I would be cutting out. I'm gonna try and always double check that whenever I'm speaking now, rather than speaking and then assuming that the microphone is on, right? Yeah, so this is DXY. This is what I'm expecting that we will close the day above, I don't know, call it 104.33. We'll probably end somewhere in this little segment right here. Today should be a green day on the, right? Today should be a green day on the DXY. Just making sure that the sound is getting picked up. Through. Oh, Oh, that's interesting. Um, when I do an Alt Tab, it looks like it cuts off my microphone. Yeah, that's weird. It cuts off my microphone when I'm Alt Tabbing, so I got to keep that in mind to stop speaking. So that's why in that in the last in these first two videos when my microphone just cuts off, that's me alt tabbing to like my notes or to getting an image or something. So apparently that cuts off my audio. That's super weird. I would have never expected that, but now I'm actually looking at like my volume meters and I'm seeing that happen. Well, it's a good thing I figured that out, and I literally just did it habitually. uh, anyways, uh, first off, the next thing to do is actually cover ES real quick. That's the last follow up here. We want this one, and then we go to ES. Thanks for sticking with me here. And this was our line for the day. And I think, well, we haven't closed out on the day yet. But I think so far so good, right? Um yeah, so far so good. It'll again, what did I say in that macro video? We'll probably have a bullish stock market and a bullish US stock market and a bullish US dollar. We're in a regime where that's most likely to occur. The next thing is dollar yen. Hey, check that out. I wanted us to close above this level, and we absolutely closed above that level. I'm just going to change that to blue. But yeah, that was the expectation. Now, in this scenario, I gotta be on the more conservative side. So I'm gonna like say we're probably gonna close above here at least. 60% of the time, you end a trading day above this price. Considering the US dollar is gaining strength, I like this idea. Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. I think today we'll do just fine. It'll be kind of sideways. We'll probably. Oh, that's interesting. When I press my push to talk and I press a different button, it like cuts out my microphone. I'm gonna have to find some alternative that still lets me do some kind of push to talk thing. Because sometimes like cars will come down the street and it'll be super loud, or people will be talking, and I need a way to modify the mic. So we'll see how that goes. Now, specifically with USJPY, there's something I wanted to mention in the macro stream that I'm going to be highlighting shortly. Someone in the chat, Turnball, he mentioned that he heard the BOJ could go hawkish in July. He was reading some stuff of his own. And he said, "Hey, I heard BOJ could hike in July." So based off the outlooks I was reading, I was not seeing that at all. So I looked into it and I found out that Barclays specifically expects the BOJ to revise or scrap yield curve control in July. There is a caveat though. Barclays mentions that the BOJ, for some reason, I don't know, but for some reason, may hold off making their their anticipated hawkish monetary policy decision in July, specifically if there's a dissolution of the Japanese parliament's lower house in mid-June, causing some mandatory election to occur, uh, that has to happen within 40 days, which means if in June you get the dissolution of this lower house, you are going to see an election in Japan in July. Uh, Personally, I don't get why an election would block the Bank of Japan from taking a single day out of its busy schedule to announce some monetary policy decision, right? It doesn't make sense why an election would stop it. Um, the BOJ policy change is supposed to be a surprise anyway, so you know, even Barclays mentions like, yeah, while we even still think it could happen in July, they talk about like, oh, there's this parliament change and potential election coming on, and maybe that puts a delay on it. And I'm like, if that's all we got for, you know, whether or not we're doing it in July or October, look, it could happen in July. It could happen in October. It happens when the BOJ thinks it's going to have the most impact. That's what I'm betting. So the question is, well, what is the BOJ trying to impact? When is the market going to be positioned in a way where the Bank of Japan can have the most impact? I mentioned Weston Nakamura. He's a good guy to listen to when it comes down to BOJ stuff. And I just listened to him, and I'm like, there's not enough information in his most recent stuff on in his most recent outlooks. So I'm like, I don't know. I need more people who have a larger specialty in figuring out, because one of the problems when you're trying to learn how to do macro interpretations and whatnot of the world and coming up with some baseline expectations of what traders are anticipating is you'll get conflicting information like this, which is like, oh, it could happen in July, oh, it can happen in October. And a big reason why that information is so conflicting and so problematic, frankly, is because people don't, when they write those outlooks, they don't mention why. Why? Why do they think July? Why do they think October? They just tell you like, oh, let me just throw the number out. They don't really have like the most concrete reasons to anticipate like this date over that date. They don't give you comparisons either. Like, we really don't think it's going to be July because da 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 reason. We think it's going to lean more towards October because da 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 reason, or vice versa. And until you can recognize you have to actually think about those things on your own for yourself and understand that there's actually a gap in information there in the first place, when it comes down to doing proper macro interpretations, like you could be totally lost when it comes down to trying to inform yourself on trading expectations and how markets are probably going to react when some news or macro event occurs. So in situations like that, it's just don't get too bogged down by it, right? You're never going to have all the answers. And this is kind of where like having a good strategy comes into play, right? You have good risk management and you try and do the best you can with your research to make yourself as informed as possible on the things that you're trading. Because there's information that's not on the charts that can help you with your risk management. But when you don't have all the information, right, there's been times, right, where I've been trading and I'm like, dude, I have no information. Nothing's coming down my squawk, but like we've moved 100 pips on some asset, right? Or maybe we've moved 10-15% on some equity. It's like, where's the news? What the hell happened, right? What is causing this, right? and you look and you look and you look and you can't find jack, well, sometimes in times like that, your strategy will save you because you're just going to be mechanically trading a strategy at that point when you lack that information, and you're going to be more conservative than you would otherwise be because you're aware you're lacking some information, right? You have some lack of access to some information. But in the situation where you do have information, you understand why things are moving, and you have a strategy, hey, things get pretty straightforward. Yeah. So I don't know. There's that my little passionate trader speech thing. There's gonna be another daily plan in about another 12 hours or so because this is technically the daily plan I was supposed to do instead of that macro plan, but I just covered so much in it and I took it in a totally different direction that, hey, guess what? Now I have an extra like show thing that I'm doing. I have a weekly macro plan and I have a daily plan where I can, talk for like 20, 30 minutes about all sorts of cool little trading concepts and some daily trade plans, right? Following up on those daily trade plans. So, coming up actually later in this week, just as a note, there's going to be a highlight video. I'm going to try and get that out. A macro plan highlight of that 1 hour and 40-minute video. And then I'm actually going to be updating an indicator, the yield spread indicator, sometime this week. And I'll put out an extra video talking about the updates to that indicator, which will be great. And I showed that off in the macro plan video. And from time to time, I'll bring it up when it's pertinent to some daily plan, right? And yeah, we'll keep it simple like that. Now, as far as so I updated the US dollar, the DXY, and the ES forecasts, but I also wanted to go over euro dollar because I noticed it had quite a stir lower. Yeah, check that out. I was looking at this earlier and I said the damn thing's got to bounce now. So this is your probability distribution of finding a low for the current trading day, right? I was saying this thing right now, or pretty flat, low odds area. This is catching a falling knife. Like that, all this can be quite dangerous to trade. That is, if you're trying to go long anywhere in this part of the distribution, you're more likely to lose money than make money going long in this part of the distribution. But right here, right at the threshold, and having super tight stop saying, hey, if it really rolls down much lower, I can have, I can maybe get away with something here. And I think that's exactly what some people have been doing. So the idea with this trade now is you're buying relatively this low and you're taking it to the end of day. You're buying this low and you're taking it to end of day. So like this, right? Somewhere around here. Now, if I highlight this little orange area, and this is just telling you where the low is, between which two points it is, so it just highlights the label. And this says, hey, 64% of the time, your low for any given trading day is above this price, 64% of the time, and 36% of the time, roughly it's 35.9, call it 36, percent of the time, it is below this price. So, let's do this. So those are our probabilities of getting a low for the day between any two prices. Now let's look at our closes. So if we're going long somewhere around here, let's look right here. So this is, you could say, kind of our threshold level of where if we buy low right here, what we kind of want to know is what are our probabilities of the day closing in profit. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a distribution with data for any given day, right? It's not like I've filtered the trading days by any metric or anything. This is just given in any day. What are the what's the shape of our distribution here? What kind of outcomes can we expect given any trading day? And if we do this one right here or this one right here, you roughly end up with like 75 to 80% of the time. I mean, yeah, there's a go. Yeah, so roughly between 75 to 80% of the time, your close for the trading day is going to be above these levels. So how about this? I'll go ahead and put in a new little line here. And the current price that we're at right now, we will end the trading day at some above this little blue line, right? Because 80% of the time we close 80% of your closes are above this little blue line right here. Now, is that a guarantee? Absolutely not. It's a probability, right? If something occurs 70 to 80% of the time, it implies that 30 to 20% of the time it doesn't occur, right? So that's where this comes in, right? If those are your probabilities of where we're going to end the trading day, and these are your probabilities of where just at any given point at some time in the day, just where does the low occur between what price? So the low could occur here at the beginning, here in the middle, here in the end. This distribution isn't tracking when the low comes in. It's just telling you where the low comes in at some point during the day, right? Now, again, not safe, not great, but I'm gonna go long a 10 pip stop on it. It's like not the end of the world, right? Not the end of the world to take like a very moderate and conservative position on that just for the day. And instead of, I mean, here's one thing. Without this indicator, if you go and you try and look back in history, right, and you're like, oh, you could go ahead and use these prior highs here, right? You can do something like that, right? And now let's go back to today in history, and you're like, oh yeah, now that makes sense. But what I just did, you don't need to do all that, right? And this works on a day by day basis. Now, don't get me wrong, it's actually quite useful to still be able to do this and see, like, oh, yeah, historically that's been a significant price, support resistance, all that good stuff. And, one idea with TA is, oh, you want confluence, you want multiple things stacking up in your favor. And that's all well and good. You do want that. And quite frankly, you also want that when you're doing a lot of quant stuff too. You want a lot of your probabilities to be maximized. You want maybe multiple different probabilistic strategies to be very, very high when you're deciding to take a trade. So, and then there's also compounding geopolitical reasons, compounding central bank reasons, compounding actual political reasons, trading expectations for the macroeconomic calendar events in the couple of days ahead. There's a lot of factors to keep in mind that you should keep in mind. But you know what? Sometimes you only need 2 or 3 things, right? Know the asset that you're trading, know what the future expectations are for the asset, and have some way of modeling price and having some sort of strategy, right? Have some strategy that you know can work, right? The less guessing you have to do, the less you have to try and overthink everything, right? You want it to be quick. Like, I can look at a distribution like this and make those decisions lickety split. That's because, this is how I like to look at a chart and trade. But do I actually always, every single day, do these day trades? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, I prefer to do the swings, right? For the week and for the month. And this range probabilities indicator just helps dramatically with, well, being able to be consistent on a day-to-day basis. Because on the day-to-day, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise. All right. So my expectation is we'll close above this little blue line. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some text here that says close above. Just so I don't forget. Okie doke. I think that's everything I wanted to cover. I've been now going at this for roughly 30-ish minutes. And that's kind of the maximum amount of time I want to allocate to these streams. And man, I have been loving the responses I've been getting from all of you. Let me know how this microphone sounds. Let me know how the settings I've updated. And let me know if there's been no more like microphone cutoffs now that I kind of figured out why the microphone has been cutting off in the middle of my sentences in some of those other videos. And yeah, every now and again, hop in the Discord. I mean, if you want to learn a lot about trading, I post a lot of free stuff in that Discord. Like, don't get me wrong, I have my page group and I have my indicators, and that's $100 a month, which, most guys who have paid trading groups, they charge like more, at least 300 plus. A lot of trading groups are like 300 plus a month. And mine comes with indicators and one-on-ones and myself. And I haven't really figured out how to like start advertising it and doing call to actions in these videos for it, for this stuff. But the truth is that's almost taking a backseat just to making sure that I'm in my groove with making these videos. I'm presenting well. The viewing experience is nice. The Discord becomes more active. People are sharing more stuff, talking about more trades, giving me suggestions of things to go over on the dailies for all these daily plans. Because I got a lot of things that I can talk about when it comes down to trading. And I'm going to be bringing on some people from time to time, I hope, on these daily streams. Some friends of mine from time to time. And hopefully also a regular schedule, so then people can anticipate like, oh, the stream's going to start in a few hours or something. So we'll rough out all the edges when it comes down to these daily plans. In the meantime, seriously, thank you all for watching. Can't say that enough. It's made me feel great just making sure I'm getting this all out there. And then I'll figure out like all the trade group promotion stuff and all the Discord activity stuff and the guest stuff, and I'll figure out some cool things to do when it comes down to these streams, and following up with how these strategies perform, not only day to day, but week to week, and giving you some highlights from maybe the videos I do in my paid trade group, and on top of giving you the highlights from that macro plan video. I got a lot of cool things that I could be doing. And then of course the videos for when I update my indicators and whatnot. A lot of things that I could be doing. But I'm gonna be doing it as it comes along. So stick around with me, follow along, learn a thing or two. And if you think I should do something, uh, now is the time when I'm most receptive to feedback. So reach out, leave a comment. I'll get like a handful of comments, so I'm absolutely going to be reading it. Or ping me in the Discord. With that all out of the way, blank out the screen. Stream's over. Thank you all for watching.